This video demonstration is going to provide you a look as to how to work with a program that includes an array. So let's just review really quick. An array is a data structure that contains a group of elements. Typically, these elements are all of the same data type, such as integer or a string. In this case, it's going to be an integer. Arrays are commonly used in computer programs to organize data that's related, a related set of values that can easily be sorted or searched. So that's what this program is going to do. A user is going to input a list of positive numbers terminated by 0 into the array of numbers. So I can theoretically put however many numbers I want into this array. Then I'm going to display the array, so the numbers in the array, and the largest and smallest number in it. And you can tell I'm using a couple of loops, a couple of selections. And since this is the first array program, I'm going to walk you through how to get that all set up into Raptor so that you can see it, run it, and since arrays just are a little bit more difficult than some of the other programming puzzles you've been working on in this course over the last several weeks. So let's go over to Raptor and take a look and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and push the play button. And let's see how it goes through here. So it hits my array. I have my variables. Enter any number except 0. Enter 0 only to quit. So let's just go ahead and start. It's counting them. It's then going to ask me for another one. And I can keep entering numbers until I decide I'm done and I just want to hit 0 for quit. So let's keep storing these numbers into my array. All right, I'm done. It's going to kick me out of my loop. Then it's going to look for the biggest number, the smallest number. It's going to go through. It's looking at all of the numbers that was stored in my. And now that it's run through all those numbers, it says flowchart is complete. So of the numbers that I entered, I had 3, 5, 5, 10, 60. The largest number is 60. The smallest number is 3. And then it evaluated all those symbols. So it stored all of the numbers that I entered into that array. It found the largest and the smallest. All right, so let's work from a clean cut canvas in Raptor so that we can work on building our own. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to put out the output. And I'll type in my information, telling it what I want to. Okay, gotta remember my quotes here. Hit done. And then I'm going to start to build out my variables. So now, as you can tell, it's telling me there's different ways that I can do this. So this is one for an array. So I'm going to say numbers, and they can enter up to 100. So this could be where I could change this. Okay, so I'm limiting them with however many numbers that they can have. So if it was 50, I'd put 50 there. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want to find the biggest number. And then the other variable I'm going to have is the smallest. I always need to count. You've seen this in every single program. When I get into loops, I need to have a count. And then I need to have another variable, num. And I'm going to say 0. Then I'm going to put in, I need an input. I need people to input numbers. Okay. So I'm going to say enter any number except for 0. Enter 0 only to quit. And here is where my number is going to start, my num variable. Then I'm going to go into a loop. Okay. I want num equals 0. Okay, so I need to go save this here. Now let me just put it out on my desktop. So there that is. I'm going to come in here, put an assignment, and I'm going to tell it, because I need to count, and I'm going to set it to num. I need to do my count. And then I need to do another input. It's going to be the same because this is where my loop is starting. So I'm going to say enter any number except for 0. Enter 0 only to quit this part of the program. And then I want to keep counting. I want them to keep adding in the numbers. Okay. So then once they get through this, so they've entered all the numbers that they want and they're done, they put in 0, we'll kick it over. And then I need to have another one. And this is where I start to figure out what is my biggest number. As you can probably guess, my smallest. Okay, so I'm starting to figure out what my biggest and my smallest are. And then I need to go into another loop where this one like that. And then I'm going to do a selection because I need to tell it. So I'm going to find numbers. Okay. Biggest. So here's my array. This is what this is talking about. Score array for less than 10. I'm using numbers, my k variable. Putting that into my selection. If it is the biggest, so this is on my yes side, I'm going to set biggest, and then this is numbers, making sure I use the right, I hit OK. Then over here, and then can you guess what that would B. So then I would add this sign, smallest. Put another one in here, smallest. Okay. And here I'm going to set K because it's still counting. Okay, so now that I'm here and it's storing, it goes back up to the loop. If it's less than, here we go, kicks it back out. I'll put my assignment. And then I'm going to put my outputs. So this is going to give me my array values that I just did. So that will give me my biggest one. And then here, this will give me the smallest. Okay, so this is going to put my array that I built. It's going to put all of those numbers that I inputted. So if I go ahead and run this, it's going to loop me through. Okay, so I'm going to enter 10. It's going to go through my loop and keep asking me for numbers that it's going to store in this array. Okay, I'm going to terminate it. It's going to jump out. It's going to start looking for the biggest, as I declared what that variable is going to be. It goes through this process until it finds that number. Or it's going to determine what's the smallest and what's the biggest. So now it looks like I have a problem with my array. It's not putting out my array values. So where did I go wrong? Okay, so what I missed was I need to come right after here, and I'm going to put in, given the numbers, okay, and then I need one more loop. Where my K is the count. I have one more selection. And you say numbers K equals 0. I'm going to do another output. I'm going to say numbers K. Need to make sure it's capitalized. Plus, quote, there we go. Put a comma in there. Then the last thing I need to do is add that count again. So I'm going to set K plus 1. So now if I run this, I'm going to go ahead and save it. If I run this, it should now give me my outputs. So you can see in my array here, it's going to store it, however many I input. So the first one's 100 and so on. Okay, so that's kind of like where that count needs to happen too. Okay, so 30. Then it's going to store that. Storing them. Terminate the program now. Now it's determining what's biggest and smallest, and it's storing that in that value of k. And it's looking through each one. So k is that number in that array. So K4, K5. Look at how it's counting that. So K is the number in my array. Then given my numbers, it's putting in each one of them. See how it's counting each one of my Ks? So each one of my numbers in my array. Until it's done. Okay, let's look at the output. Given the numbers, 100, 30, 800, 20, or 620, 1,000. The largest number is 1,000 and the smallest number is 30. And that's the work of an array where I can store multiple integers inside of the array and then it counts through it. And you'll notice how important that count was. Keeping count of the number of arrays, keeping count of the numbers inputted. And this is a program with an array in part of it.